driving doesn't come all at once. It's revealed in like moments, and each of these frames kind of captures like a part of the new gen Rivian R1T story. And I think much like these Polaroids, the evolution story of the Rivian R1T is very much still developing frame by frame and piece by piece. And those gradual steps have led to this. The R1T Quad, absurdly kitted out with over 1,000 horsepower and 4 motors, and has the kind of power that I think makes most people ask, just because you can build it, should you? So I want to give you my thoughts after having it for a week on the upgrades for the new R1T Quad, but now we're a second generation in. And I want to see what changes have been made, and if this thing just straight up has too much power for its own good. The best place to start, I think, is a drive.
Yeah, take my hand, let's celebrate tonight. Come with me, I know you'll be alright. Walking down the Sun Strip, I see stars. Off to the party now, top floor.
I, like every car enthusiast or electric car enthusiast, I couldn't wait to drive the Quad. Mostly because I wanted to compare it to what my launch R1T was. That's also Quad, and I haven't spent any time at all with any of the Rivian Gen 2 cars, so my expectation going in was that it was going to drive like a totally different car, like a completely new experience. I was surprised that it drives almost identical, at least it feels from a drive, not a sheer acceleration or handling standpoint, almost identical to my Gen 1, which I think is more of a testament to how good Rivian's cars were out of the gate as a brand new company than a knock on what the Gen 2 is. This car drives incredibly well. The handling is really good. Acceleration's a whole other topic we're going to talk about. Now, like I said, it drives similar until you go into the settings and mess with the rad tuner. And when you go into there, you can configure everything. I've never seen that level of like granularity for controls. And when you dial those settings into however you want, then you get a very different driving truck than the first gen. I think that was really cool. You can kind of pick how you want your car to drive, and you can really like get in there if you want. If you are getting or thinking about getting a quad motor R1T, 1,025 horsepower is a lot of horsepower. That is a lot of horsepower for any type of car, let alone for a sizable truck. And this is where I think Rivian starts to like really flex with their enduro drive units. So in my first gen, those were bought from Bosch. But since they built their own, they can control everything inside of it. And the first time I floored it, not launch mode, just punching it in sport mode, I could feel the traction control working like double time to keep me in a straight line. It is absurd, and I mean absurd in the absolute like best way possible. I don't think there's a better way to show that than launch mode and the marks that it left on the road. This is the first time I've done this. Okay, getting ready. It's lowering. It's putting in like cheetah stance. Okay, ready, set, go. If Rivian's goal was to make like the ultimate vehicle that combines practical with the most amount of fun you can have driving something this size, they nailed it with the R1T Quad. But Rivian didn't just make this thing fast, they also made it smarter. And I thought my truck was already pretty smart, but these are pretty big leaps and bounds better than the first generation. The biggest change from first gen to second gen is in the ADAS stuff. Not the biggest fan of what I have in the first gen stuff. It works okay, but if there's a fork in the road or a slight turn, it deactivates. There's a ton of nag, seemingly every like 10 seconds to kind of hold the wheel. Gen 2, it's upgraded computers, upgraded cameras, kind of everything is better. And Rivian even has, they're kind of calling it hands-free mode here. There's actually a camera monitoring me inside of the mirror. It's like right there. You kind of see the polarized glasses on. And you can go hands-free, but you have to be paying attention. So I don't know if anybody's got a Gen 1. You don't go down twice on the stock. You actually have to pull it towards you twice now, and it'll turn on. The controls are all the same as the first one, and it says enhance highway assist on, keep your eyes on the road, and it works. I mean, it does exactly what you'd expect. You can initiate lane changes if you want, but it will keep you in your lane, it will turn, and it's not going to give you the nag as long as you're looking forward. Every time I turn my head, look at the camera, I get the alert to keep my eyes forward. You could sit here for hours with it like this, and it would absolutely work. Again, a huge improvement from Gen 1. I don't think Rivian's close to self-driving, although I do say they're getting there. The hardware here is probably can do it. But if you're looking for like a autopilot-esque experience, this is really close and really good. So while improvements to the driving experience, obviously it's a big part of the story of the R1T Quad, there are also some subtle changes to the outside of the truck as well, things you have to kind of know where to look. But there's one thing in particular that I didn't know about until Rivian dropped this thing off to me. It's got NACS, the North American charging standard. It's got the Tesla port. So it'll natively charge at supported Tesla superchargers, literally just plug in and you'll be good. That was a giant surprise. A lot of other stuff around here was not a huge surprise, but you're gonna start seeing a lot of these trucks on the road. You might wonder like how you can tell a quad from just a general Rivian R1T. There's a couple ways to do it. First, you're gonna have blue accents everywhere. You'll see it pretty much everywhere that there's a Rivian logo. You'll see it on the calipers too. They're also blue. Can't see them so well, and I think these awesome looking dune graphite rims here. The tires are the same 20-inch all-terrains that we've had before. They're Pirelli Scorpions. I do think in the middle of those, though, it looks like it spells out RJ, the CEO and founder's initials in there. I don't know, they'll probably tell me no. But if you keep coming around, probably the easiest way to tell you're looking at a quad, well, it's to look right here because it says quad. But also, we've got Gary. It's not something that like I added because my kids like it. This is the Gear Guard Yeti. You can see him and his hair getting blown backwards. So you see one of those, you're about to get lapped if this thing decides to step on it. So it's got some other stuff that are new to me, again, coming from a Gen 1. It's got a tonneau cover. The old one used to stack. When you did it, it would go all the way back and it'd stack and it was loud. This one, way quicker, smaller slats, and it actually rolls in. And also, I imagine it's probably going to be a bit more reliable too. The front and the back of the car now have these indicators that'll charge in sections when it shows you how fast it's charging on here. And also, if you put the hazard lights on, it'll kind of direct traffic which way to go. I thought that was kind of a cool like safety feature. So I also follow the rumors, and there was a lot about the quad that like thought might happen. One of the big things that people thought was going to be changed was the gear tunnel here. I didn't notice any difference. To me, it looks exactly the same, and Rivian did not tell me that anything new was done here. But still, incredibly useful spot to store, at least for me, baseball bags or have your kids crawl in there. Something that is new, and that's kind of unique to the Gen 2, the electrochromatic roof. I hadn't seen it in person before. You can get that on any of the R1 vehicles. That was super cool to see. I know I've talked about like speed and performance, but when you think about it in a truck, the thing that put it in perspective to me was this thing is faster 0 to 60 than a McLaren 720S. Now it's not faster by a lot, like 0.1 seconds-ish, and this one probably not with the all-terrain tires. And this is obviously not the first time we've seen trucks with a 2-something 0 to 60 time, right? Tesla's Cyber Beast could do it in 1/10 of a second slower, at least officially, at 2.6. So we're used to fast electric trucks, but when you experience it and feel it in something this size and this weight, it doesn't feel like it should be physically possible. Like it's defying the laws of physics. But then you do it, and then you smile, and then you want to do it again, and then you smile, and then you have to replace your tires. Speaking of tires, there's also something that's kind of unique here too, or at least was unique to me. I used to wear out my tires all the time in my R1T. Sometimes there was a camber issue, all that kind of stuff. But because it's the Enduro drive units, because they made everything, they're able to sort of dial in things like torque vectoring. What it'll do is it'll dynamically adjust the torque, so the tires shouldn't wear as unevenly. So that's a big thumbs up. You're probably wondering about range, because I was. To 100% charge in conserve, we got 319 miles advertised. And Rivian, to their credit, is really good about getting like actual range that they show. They don't overstate it drastically. In my experience driving their cars, usually if they say you can get 317, depending on how you drive, you'll get between like 309 and 330. Like they're pretty close to the actual range. So bear that in mind. Certainly not their longest range of trucks, but definitely their fastest. Obviously, there's a lot that's really good here, but there is some stuff that I wish they fixed. This piece on my truck when I slide off or I'm sitting here, I have knocked this thing off like 3 separate times, and it still feels like that's the same. It's just connected with pins. So I wish that was different. Rivian does a really nice job adding outlets to their cars. You've got 2 120s there. I would have wished we would have had a 240 in there as well. I would have also liked 800 volt architecture for charging, but I think at this point, if those are the things that I'm nitpicking here, like we're in a pretty good spot. There's one thing that's coming that I can't show you because this truck doesn't have it yet. It'll get it over software, but I feel like it's better if I show you and don't tell you. Rivian did a really nice job here. From the performance to the handling to the styling to the improvements, they're subtle. Like you got to know where to look to tell if this is a Gen 2, let alone the quad version. What they've done is make an already really, really good product that much better, and in this case, that much faster. So the upgrades to the interior of the truck are a pretty similar story too as the outside, mostly subtle with a few big like quality of life improvements. So first, I think the Rivian seats are incredibly comfortable. Your back might vary. These felt even more comfortable than my Gen 1. And then because it's the quad, there's some accents all around. I thought it was funny that Rivian decided to put plaid accents in their car. They wouldn't tell me if it was a nod to another EV company that uses plaid in there. But you've got plaid accents everywhere. You got them on the floor mats, in the headrest, everywhere you look, plaid makes an appearance. Also the other quality of life improvements too, and a lot of this is Gen 2, not just unique to the plaid. The cameras. The cameras in my Gen 1 Rivian, especially the front-facing camera, is a potato camera, as well as the cameras that show the blind spots when you put your signal on. Those are way better here. They look like modern cameras. You probably wouldn't notice it if your car has decent cameras, but coming from the Gen 1, that was like one of the first things I noticed was actually how much better those look. The fit and finish too was outstanding, but the build quality on my old one and my wife's old one, and her R1S has been like 800 and my truck's been 1500. Build quality's been outstanding on those two, so I personally don't have any build quality issues when it comes to Rivian, although maybe you have a different experience. Gen 2 also changed the wireless charger. The Gen 1 was so very bad. I had to just put a little aftermarket MagSafe thing in there. This worked now perfectly. Put your phone in, there's a divider, you can charge 2 phones. The phones did get super warm, but it absolutely charged, which was not the case with the first gen. So the R1T Quad is more than just a truck. It is like a super truck. That's the thing. I've had the absolute privilege of driving, I guess we could consider competitors in the space. The Silverado EV, the Hummer EV would be kind of the ones that jump up for things that you would compare this to. Those are larger, those are full size. The Hummer's a whole other beast. It's got 3 wipers. In the size of a truck that I find more usable, that can fit in most garages, it is absurd again how fast this thing is. And with the first gen Rivian, it did not feel like a first product from a new company. And this quad does not feel like a second product from a new company. This feels refined. Everything that they've promised me was going to come in future software or hardware, they've delivered on. They've done a really good job historically not throwing a bunch of unfinished things, especially software, into their cars and then fixing it later with software updates. Price is a whole question mark here. As of this film, we don't technically know the whole price, but I'll put it up on screen so we'll have the information by the time you guys watch this video. It's a lot of money. All right, so next day here, and now we know the price. $116,000 for the quad. It's about $16,000-ish more than the Tri. Is a lot of money. Is the quad the one to buy if you have the money? I'd be tough to say yes. But if you want all that power, it is there and ready for you. If you want probably enough power, the Tri most definitely exists and is probably the perfect compromise of range and power. But if you want the fastest, you want the best, you want to look over at the M3 next to you or the Model 3 or the Model Y next to you and be like, yup, let's go at a red light. And I think that's one of the coolest things like about the R1T Quad. You can do that in a truck. And it's like the story of Rivian and the story of the R1T and what's going to be the R2. It's not fully developed yet. You know, I only have 8 Polaroids out here. I could have had 16, I could have had 30, because there's a lot of points that deserve their own mention. But just know, if you're looking to get a Rivian Quad, or any Rivian, I put my money behind them. I trust the company. I trust them not only to deliver a quality product, but also to be around. And while their future might not be fully developed, the ones that they have are pretty clearly in focus.